Hey everybody, welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 106 of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. I'm your coach, Angela Pugh, helping you get that sober life you want. Thank you for spending some time with me today and listening to the pod. I hope you are continuing to survive quarantine, and maybe you're even in a place that's starting to reopen at least a little bit so we can begin the healing process and start to see just how bad the fallout is going to be from all this. Today, we are going to talk about something that plagues all of us. I know you are struggling with it. I know I definitely struggle with it, and it holds you back from getting a lot of things you want in life, sobriety included. We are going to dig into procrastination, why we do it, what are the consequences of it, and how we can stop. Some of you may really be struggling with this right now too because of the coronavirus and quarantine, homeschooling, working from home, feeling stuck, or maybe you're one of the millions of people who will have to find a new job, and that can bring up its own set of circumstances and some fear and procrastination. But as we start to get back on our feet, slowly but surely, you don't want to get stuck in this procrastination quicksand. You want to be on top of your game and getting things done so you can rebound as quickly as possible. That's what we all want. It's been interesting to watch as everything starts to reopen, to see people's thoughts and opinions on what that looks like. You know, honestly, for me, I'm not even sure how I feel about it. I'm definitely wearing a mask and gloves, but you know me, I'm in general a very mindful person, and I like to be conscientious of my surroundings and the other people in my surroundings. I heard a statistic the other day, and it was fascinating. It totally makes sense. You know, they have said all along that the efficiency of wearing a mask is that it keeps from spreading coronavirus from people who have it but don't have symptoms, right? And the other great thing about a mask is it keeps you from touching your face. And I remember years ago, I think I've even talked about this on other podcasts. I remember many years ago, I had a friend of mine in my AA group who was a doctor. And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about like in that moment, but I remember him saying to me, he's like, Angela, if you don't want to get sick, then don't touch your face. He said, it's just that simple. Don't touch your face and you won't be sick. And it was like this crazy little light bulb moment. And it made me super aware of touching my face. So they say the other great thing about wearing a mask is it protects you from touching your face, because really we touch our faces 1,000 times a day without even realizing it. Like, how often do you see someone like stick a finger in their mouth to pick their teeth or chew a fingernail? And I have to tell you guys, just between you and me, this is one of my greatest struggles in AA, is sitting in a meeting next to someone who will spend the entire meeting with their fingers in their mouth, chewing their nails. And all I'm thinking is like, I'm supposed to stand up and join hands with that person at the end of the meeting. And I don't want to hold their hand after they spent an hour with all their fingers in their mouth. Okay, I love you, but no. But anyway, what about allergies? Same thing. Itchy eyes, itchy nose. You touch your face 1,000,000 times. Or putting on chapstick. That's a huge one for me. I'm a chapstick addict. You will never catch me without my favorite lip stuff. I have them everywhere and I put it on constantly. So I'm listening to talk radio the other day, and they played a news story about the importance of wearing masks. And the person said they've been doing studies to measure the efficacy of wearing masks, right? To see how much of a difference does it really make. And what the research shows is that if 80% of the population wears a mask, our coronavirus cases would be 1/12 what they are. 1/12, you guys. That's huge. And I'm not a person that minds wearing a mask anyway. I don't really care. It's inconvenient, it's uncomfortable, but I don't care. I'm happy to do it for the limited time I'm in public. I believe it is the right thing to do my part in not making a horrible situation worse. I do believe it keeps me from touching my face, which protects me. And I feel like it's just me doing my part, and I'm responsible for doing my part. I also, like many of you, had coronavirus hit pretty close to home. My father, where he works, 5 out of the 7 people there tested positive for coronavirus. And several of them even had very different symptoms and, of course, didn't think they had it. And one of them had no symptoms at all. And that's exactly the person that needs to be wearing the mask, right? That's exactly the person they talk about with this whole mask thing. It keeps you from spreading it when you don't know you have it. So my father had to take off work and quarantine for the standard amount of time, 14 days, when the first few guys tested positive. One of them actually ended up in the hospital in pretty serious condition. And a young guy too, not like an old dude. He's a young guy, probably early 50s. Then my father goes back to work, and the one that didn't have any symptoms was there. And after that, he tested positive. So we had a whole new quarantine situation on our hands, because now my almost 70-year-old father was exposed again right after quarantining himself. And I guess really my thought process is more service, right? You guys know I'm obsessed with service. So my thought process is more thinking about others than thinking about myself. Like, I'm not super scared of getting coronavirus because I am a capable person and I am a responsible person, and I will be responsible for myself. I will wash my hands. I will sanitize like a crazy person, and I'll wear the mask so I don't touch my face, and I will be okay. I'm responsible for me, and I will do the right things, so I'm not afraid. I also want to protect the people around me in the grocery store or the restaurant or wherever I am. And I want to instill a sense of safety for them. Like, I want my fellow humans to know that I'm doing my part, and that as much as I want to protect me, I also want to protect them. So I'll wear the mask and gloves. It really does not bother me. I'm totally good with it. There are so many people out there too who are high risk, and you wouldn't even know it. And I consider my mom a high risk person. Like, I don't know if she would survive if she got it. Or my hairstylist, who is a young person and strong, and she's beautiful, and she has this crazy form of blood cancer, right? I don't even know what that means, but she's high risk, and you would never know it by looking at her, right? So I just feel like there are all these people that are high risk that I don't know are high risk, but I also have a responsibility to make sure that I'm instilling a sense of safety in them too. And those are the people I think about when I'm going out in public. I want those people to know that I want to protect them also, not just me. So you guys know I go to breakfast every Saturday morning with my father. Don't ever try to schedule an appointment with me on Saturday morning, because that time is spoken for. Me and my pop have been doing Saturday breakfast for about 10 years, something like that. It's 8-10 years. And anyway, this past Saturday was the first day that restaurants were open for dine-in. I say this past Saturday, but this past Saturday from when this podcast was released, which who knows when you're actually listening to it, but it was the first Saturday that restaurants were open. And we talked about it throughout the week, whether or not we wanted to go in or just get food to go like we've been doing. And at the last minute, we decided to go in and just see what it was like, you know? Of course, we wore our masks and we were heavily armed with sanitizer. And honestly, it was kind of weird. Like, they'd removed a lot of their tables, right, to accommodate social distancing. The entire staff was wearing masks and gloves. They were all getting their temperatures taken. There are no condiments on the tables, right? Salt and pepper are only available in individual packets. And they're definitely doing everything they can to protect the public. And I wore my mask like while we were sitting there and ordering, and I sprayed my sanitizer all over everything, the table, my silverware, my hands, my father, like everything is getting sprayed around me. And really, we had a great breakfast. It was nice to sit there, like I said, a little weird because there weren't a lot of people and the energy was odd. And this is a really popular breakfast restaurant that is usually packed with people and loud. And now it's like super mellow and quiet. But what I know for sure is that this is going to be a long process of rebuilding. We will have another surge in cases as more and more businesses continue to open. And I want to do everything I can to not add to the problem. And that statistic has just been screaming at me since I heard it. If 80% of the population wears masks, our cases would be 1/12 what they are. I like those numbers. And I think we can easily achieve that as we all do our best, right? To be mindful of this little invisible terrorist and do everything we can to not share him with one another. And I think it's just going to be a crazy time to watch how everything starts to go back to normal, and how long will that take, and what will it look like, and how will we adjust, and what will the long-term effects be, not only on business and economy, but on people and on our families. You know, we've definitely been through a traumatic and crazy, hopefully once in a lifetime event. So that's all I've got on that note. And moving right along, let me give you a couple of announcements really quickly before we get into procrastination. First of all, you guys are kick-ass, okay? I love you guys. And it's so exciting for me to continue meeting more and more of you as the Inner Circle membership site grows. And you know, inside the Inner Circle, we do 2 online recovery meetings each week, and we'll add more of those as we go too. And I love getting to meet you face to face in our meetings and get to connect with you in the private chat too. For those of you who are members of the Inner Circle, I've started a private chat just for our members, and it has been awesome to stay connected and make each other laugh throughout the day. And if you are a member and you want to be added to the private chat, message my team at hello@angelapugh.com. It's hello@angelapugh.com. Just give us the heads up you want to be added to the chat, and we can send you a link to join us on that private chat. And of course, you'll find all the information to join the Inner Circle membership on the site at www.myrecoverytoolbox.com. You get bonus content, early access to the podcast episodes, 2 recovery meetings per week, the private chat, and just a ton of resources to keep your recovery on track and fun. We have to have fun, you guys. It's really important. And I will link that in the show notes to join at www.myrecoverytoolbox.com. One more time, www.myrecoverytoolbox.com. You'll find it in the show notes. Super fun. And last 2 things before we dive into the topic. I know there are a lot of you interested in working with me in my 6-week program, and I am super excited to meet you and get to work. And I've gotten some emails from people who have been a little irritated by the wait list. And please understand, this 6-week program, we call it the 2K because it's 2K. It is very hands-on. And I only have so many hours in a day, right? So yes, sometimes there's going to be a wait list. It's never very long. And my team will still contact you immediately and get you started in the process so you have support immediately. But please do not get frustrated with me and my team. If you've been thinking about signing up for coaching, but you keep putting it off, then when you're finally ready, there's a wait list. I am not going to apologize for being busy and helping people. If you put it off, that was your decision, and I totally get that. It's a huge decision and a huge commitment, but please do not be short-tempered with my team if there is a brief waiting period for my schedule to open up. Okay? Get signed up. We have a process in place that you can still start doing work immediately and you'll have support immediately. And honestly, you guys, there are so many bells and whistles with that program. I promise you, you will have plenty to keep you busy and get you started with a ton of support, and we will get you on my schedule ASAP. The thing I want to be most clear about in all of this is do not be short with my team. I did have somebody get a little rude and throw a little bit of a fit because they couldn't get on my schedule like that day. And they said that they've been thinking about it for a year and looking at the website over and over. And then they were ready to make the move and do it. And there was a wait list and she wanted to be mad at my assistant for it. And I was like, lady, your procrastination does not make it my emergency, right? If you want to be unkind to my team, we are going to have much bigger problems. Okay. That's all I'm saying. And if you're thinking about the 2K with me and you go on the website and there's not a wait list, I suggest you jump on it because you landed there at just the right time. So don't hesitate and procrastinate. I do have a couple of openings right now too. So there is not a wait list in this moment. Last thing, if you are not getting your emails, please check your spam folder. I know we talk about this every single episode, and I just want to keep driving it home. And if you don't know if you're getting emails, check your spam folder. Sometimes I make little videos and I send them to random people just to say hello. Sometimes if you message my team a question, I will make a video for you to respond. And sometimes I will do giveaways and I will email you to give you something totally free. And it's crazy how many things I send and get no response. So I know you're in the same spam folder vortex that I get stuck in. So just like me, just check your damn spam, okay? So here we go. I know you're struggling with it. I definitely struggle with it. And it holds you back from getting so many things you want in life, sobriety included. Let's dig into procrastination, why we do it, what are the consequences of it, and how can we stop? So I was researching this and I came across this list, right? It's a set of triggers. There's 7 triggers. And I want you to think about something right now that you've been putting off. And as I go through this list, you'll probably find that thing, that task you've been putting off, probably has many of these characteristics, right? Maybe all of them, who knows? But this is how we discover what makes a task procrastination worthy. Here we go. Boring, frustrating, difficult, ambiguous, unstructured, not intrinsically rewarding. And that one makes me crack up because, you know, as people with addiction, I don't want to do anything that is not rewarding. That's our biggest problem. And the last one is lacking in personal meaning. So let me go over those again. Boring, frustrating, difficult, ambiguous, unstructured, not intrinsically rewarding, or lacking in personal meaning. And I think most of these make a lot of sense, right? The one thing I want to touch on with boring is, you know, you can be doing a task and still be bored or bored with it or feeling boring. And I think a lot of people really encounter this like with work stuff because you get so good at your work and you do it so frequently that it almost becomes mindless, right? You're going through the motions. It's like driving. You're not aware of every single second of every single thing that happens when you're driving. You're on autopilot. You've done it so many times. You're just doing it, going through the motions. So I really wanted to point that out with boring because it can be that you are in activity and still boring because it just feels mundane and it's not challenging and it's not stimulating. So first, let's touch on reversing procrastination triggers. First, consider which of the 7 triggers are set off, right, by the activity that you're dreading or putting off. then try to think differently about that task. So the idea of completing it is more attractive, right? Let's take writing in your journal. If you find this boring, turn it into a game. Like, give yourself a time limit. Say for 20 minutes, I'm going to write, and see how far you get in 20 minutes. Or if there's a task that feels ambiguous or unstructured, create a workflow that lays out the exact steps so that you can follow it each time to get it done. You're not missing anything, right? It just gives you a little guideline. The next thing is work within your resistance level. When a task sets off procrastination triggers, we resist doing it. But how resistant are you? Think about your resistance level and consider the effort you commit to that task. Think about it on a sliding scale. For example, could you focus on reading for an hour? No? Does that period of time still seem unpleasant? Is that too long? What about 30 minutes? So shorten the amount of time until you find a period that no longer feels resistant, right? And then you can do it just for that period of time. You guys have heard me talk about this too, like with chores. I know I always use the dishwasher. I have some weird hang up with unloading the dishwasher. I've had it my whole life, literally since I was a teenager. I swear this was my chore and I hated it even then. So, and here I am, I'll be 48 next month and I still hate it. To get myself to do it, I have to break it down in this tiny piece of time. I have to tell myself, Angela, seriously, get over it, dude. It's 3 minutes. Like if you can't conquer 3 minutes, we've got bigger issues, So I have to work within my resistance level and get it down to a bite-sized piece, right? That's what it is. It's making everything bite-sized pieces. You hear me talk about that concept too. Break it down into bite-sized pieces and then do it. The next thing I think is important is do something. Anything just to get started, right? It's easier to keep doing things after you overcome that initial hump of getting started in the first place. You hear that saying all the time, the hardest part is getting started. So do something just to get started. None of this stuff is ever as bad as we think it's going to be. So getting started forces us to think about that task differently. And getting started, then you're in that journey and it's easier to keep going. And it's never as bad as we originally anticipate, right? It's never as bad as we think it's going to be. The next one, this one I really like, okay? List the costs of procrastination. This is probably better for bigger tasks. It's probably not worth like spending 20 minutes listing the costs of not going for your evening run, right? Listing the costs would be much more significant for big tasks like saving for retirement or saving for a vacation, like whatever. And add to your list all the ways that procrastinating on saving for retirement could affect your social life. How would it affect your finances? How would it affect your stress level? How will it affect your happiness, your health, and so on? It's also worth it to make a list of the things you put off personally and professionally, large and small, and calculate the costs for each, right? Like really dig into that. What is it really costing you? Like I keep talking about doing this thing, but what is it really costing me? I used to think about this a lot when I would always pay all my bills late. And especially things like credit cards, right? Where they whack you with these huge fees. I don't know, they have like $25 or $30 fees just because you're late. I was always late just out of being irresponsible. Sometimes I didn't have the money. Most of the time I did have the money. I was just lazy and irresponsible. So when I would think about that over the course of so many months, I'd be like, well, damn, I just added an extra $100 on my credit card bill and I haven't even bought anything just because I paid it, a day late or something. Like it's so stupid. So really think about the costs of that. Like how did it affect my finances, right? It's $100 I would have rather spent on shoes. I promise you that. How did it affect my stress? Well, it made me feel bad about myself. It did cause me stress because then I go into this thinking of, Angela, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? Dude, just pay the damn thing. Put a reminder in your calendar and pay it on time. You want to be a better person. Why are you doing this? You're holding yourself back. All of that is stress. So how does it affect my happiness? Same thing. I'm beating myself up. That's not good for my happiness. So you get the picture. Really think about what it's costing you to procrastinate. Again, this one is probably more efficient on larger tasks, right? I mean, you're not going to do it on why you're not exercising today necessarily because it'll take you longer to make the list than it would just to go exercise. Well, that's a good thing to think about too. So anyway, then maybe breaking it up personally, professionally, big things, little things, and calculate all of that, the costs for you as a human being. This is another big one right now for sure, disconnect. Okay, all of our devices give us 1,000 distractions, whether it's email or social media or texting with your friends and family. And this is especially difficult right now, right? As work and working from home becomes more ambiguous and unstructured, right? Those are two of the triggers. So everybody's at home kind of on their own, flying by the seat of their pants. And you notice yourself using your device to procrastinate. And that is a really good sign. It's time to disconnect. Sometimes, like if I have to record a podcast or something, or if I have things that I really have to get done and I'm on a deadline, I have to leave my phone in the other room. Like I can't mess with it. I can't have it next to me because it hits a certain time of the day when the rest of the world wakes up and my phone is immediately blowing up. Every social media platform, text messages, group texts for my sober houses, family members I'm working with, business stuff, the private chats, like my phone goes crazy. So I have to have times that I disconnect. Phone in the other room. Don't even look at it. Also, there are some apps. I know there's one called Freedom and another one, I think it's called Self-Control, that you can put on that blocks access to distracting sites, right? And it will require you to physically, and these are for your computer, and you have to physically restart your computer to restore access, right? So that's a great little self-controlled disconnect piece. And it might sound a little drastic, and I guess it is on a certain level, but disabling your digital distractions in advance gives you no choice but to work on what's really important. And there are a lot of proven ways to combat procrastination so that it doesn't get in the way of accomplishing your most important things, right? And when you catch yourself resisting doing something, consider whether it sets off any of those triggers that we talked about and work within your resistance level. Force yourself to get started. List the costs of putting off the task or disconnect from your distractions, your little digital distractions. Here's another one. Link tasks you don't like to your goals. It helps to tie these tasks to one of your main goals or values, right? Remind yourself how each task is related to the big picture. Like for me, it sometimes will take me a few days to talk myself into doing a Facebook Live. And I don't even know what my issue is. I'm not terrible at them, right? Like I'm pretty good at them. Obviously, I can talk. I'm articulate. I know what I'm talking about. So that part is easy. It's just nerve-wracking knowing that you're sitting down, you're going in front of the camera, it's live. You don't know what's going to happen, if the computer's going to shut off, if the lawn care guys are going to start mowing outside my window. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of unknown, and that's what creates that fear, right? So what I have to do is I have to link it to the bigger picture. And I have to think, okay, this isn't about me. Going live in video is not about me. It's about you. It's me being of service to you. So I got to get out of my own self and I have to realize I'm not doing this for me. This isn't about me. And who cares if we have some technical issues? We're all going to survive. But the big picture is I'm being of service. And that's all I really care about, right? So I have to link the task to my big picture goals. Another one I do is plan my week a little bit. So plan your week just enough to loosely schedule in some of the big things you know you want to get done. This is really challenging for me. Sometimes I procrastinate stuff just because it's not in my calendar, right? And I won't think about it. So I have Post-it notes, I have note cards, right? And I will make my list, like maybe even the night before, I'll think about the next day. Like, what are the things I absolutely have to get done tomorrow, no matter what? And I start jotting those things down so that when I get up in the morning, I have that reminder of the things I need to focus on. Or if I have something really major I need to get done, then I've got to put a couple of notes in a couple of places. I have to put it on my calendar, right? Block out 3 hours, record a podcast and edit it, whatever. Or do social media for the week, or who knows, whatever it might be. I have to put it in the calendar, and then I'll make a Post-it note and put it on my computer. And then when I open my computer to actually start working on the task, I have to keep that Post-it note right next to me because I'm ADD AF and I will go down the rabbit hole. Next thing I'll know, I'll have 20 tabs open on my computer and 3 hours have gone by and I never even started the original thing I sat down and opened the computer to do. You hear me? So I've got to keep that Post-it note right next to me so I can consistently glance at it and remind myself this is the one task I have to get done. So plan your week just enough. I usually set 3 things each week that I absolutely have to get done that week. No BS, no questions asked. And I'll schedule them in my calendar, whether it's an hour block or a 3-hour block, whatever it takes. But 3 things for sure every week that I have to get done no matter what. Okay, this is one of my favorites. Break down big tasks into smaller pieces. You guys hear me say this all the time. Bite-size pieces. I got to break it down in bite-size pieces. I never would have gone to college as an older person. I didn't go to college till I was 37. I never would have gone to college. I promise you I never would have done it if I didn't have the ability to fill out the initial application online. Because I would have blown it so out of proportion in my head. I had so much shame about never having gone to college before, like when I was a young person, when normal people go. I had a lot of shame about that. I felt embarrassed. I had a ton of fear because I hadn't been in school in 20 years. I didn't know if I would be good at it, or maybe I would be really freaking horrible. Maybe I was really dumb and I just didn't even know it. So I had a ton of fear. And when the initial thought came to me to go to college, it came out of nowhere. I would have never had the courage to walk into the campus and fill out the application. So I had to break it down into bite-sized pieces. And I thought, okay, let me just look online and see what the next step is. And when I went online, it said, do your application right now online. And I was like, oh shit, I can do that. So I did it. And I just broke it down in these tiny bite-sized pieces that I could just accomplish the very next thing. I didn't have to think about the big picture, right? Just the very next thing and take those little bitty steps. And that's what led me to my whole college career, that one tiny step, right? Do not underestimate the bite-sized pieces. If something seems too big and overwhelming, think, what is just the very next thing I would have to do? Right? If you have to look for a new job right now, don't think about, oh my God, I'm going to have to put in 50 resumes and do all these interviews and it's so overwhelming. Don't even go there. What's the very next thing you need to do? Maybe you just need to update your resume. Maybe that's the next thing. So schedule an hour to sit down and update your resume. And what would be next after that? Maybe you find one of the job sites and you go on that website and just upload your resume. Just have it there, just in case you see something, right? Bite-sized pieces, that's all. The next one I want to talk about is, and this one kind of makes me sad, to be honest with you, and I lived it too, so I totally get it. But you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself and your ability to accomplish the things you want to accomplish. If you've lost hope or you're feeling defeated, know that you have the ability to turn things around, okay? Get rid of that fear of failure or fear of the unknown. Because listen, there's no way to avoid failure. Failure is just a part of life, and it's just a learning experience. It's not the end of the world. It's not even that big of a deal, honestly. We are going to F things up. That's how life works. That's how we get smart. That's how we get experience. That's how we get better at things, is we F it up. So who cares? Fail. Who cares? It's not that big of a deal. The important thing is, when one thing doesn't work out, I've got to pivot and I have to keep trying, right? And that's what you keep doing over and over again. You do a little bit every day. You get a little better every day. Everything is not going to work out, and that's all right. You have to believe in yourself and know that you are capable of doing anything you want to do. If you are sitting in sobriety and you're mad at yourself because you've relapsed 100 times and you don't know if you're ever going to get it, and you're feeling completely defeated and you feel like a freaking loser because you're on day 1 for the 80th time this year, it's okay. Do not stop trying. That's the important part. Look at what you were doing that didn't work and figure out how you can do it differently, how you can be more committed, how you can try a little harder, and then start doing that. That's all. That's all it is. Just don't stop trying. All right? And here's the last one I want to talk about. I love this one. I love this one because this is something I do, and you've heard me talk about it before. Like, I will call my mom and I'll be like, Mom, I just need you to come over and be my friend. And usually I do this when I catch myself avoiding cleaning up. I know when I walk in my house and I see that there are some messes, like things have accumulated in different spots. I haven't been putting things away. Things need to be filed, like whatever the case is. When I notice several of those little things that I'm just not doing them, that's when I have to call in some reinforcement, okay? I have to invite somebody over just to talk to me while I get my stuff done. All your friend has to do is sit in the room with you and make sure you do the task. If you want, you can let them help you. You don't have to. And then after you do the stuff, treat yourself and treat your friend. Go get a coffee or a dessert or get something to eat or go to a movie, whatever it is. Treat yourself. Get the thing done. Call in reinforcements. Get the thing done and then treat yourself. All right? Let's recap these really quickly. I'm sorry, because I feel like this episode is getting longer than I expected. Sorry, I'm trying to keep your attention. First, let's do the 7 triggers again. Boring, frustrating, difficult, ambiguous, unstructured, not intrinsically rewarding, or lacking in personal meaning. Okay, these are the proven ways to combat procrastination, so it doesn't get in your way, right, of those things you really want to get done. The next time you catch yourself resisting a task, okay, consider what of the triggers it sets off. Work within your resistance level. Force yourself to get started on it. List the costs of putting the task off. Disconnect from your little digital distractions. Link your task to a bigger goal, right? Remember why it's important for your bigger picture. Plan your week just enough. Figure out a few things you absolutely want to get done this week and put it in your calendar. Break down big things into bite-sized pieces. Believe in yourself and know that you are perfectly capable of doing anything and everything you want. Call in reinforcements to hang out with you while you get stuff done, and then treat yourself and treat whoever's your reinforcement. We got all that? All right, you guys know I will link to all the regular things in the show notes. I will also post this podcast as a blog at www.myrecoverytoolbox.com, so you can see the 7 procrastination triggers. You can read through these, print it out if you want. It's a great reminder. I will link to join the Inner Circle. If you're already an Inner Circle member or you join and you want to become a part of the private chat, please message us at hello@angelapugh.com. And don't be mean to my team. If you can't get on my schedule immediately, we will get you on very quickly, and I work constantly, so I promise you it won't take long. Okay? Thank you so much, you guys, for spending this time with me. I love you so much, as always. If you need anything, hello@angelapugh.com is where you find us. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.